Good evening, and welcome to the 9th annual Making an Exoneree documentary showcase. I love the energy in this packed house here at Georgetown University. We have hundreds more who are watching online. My name is Mark Howard. I'm a professor here at Georgetown and the director of the Prisons and Justice Initiative. I'm joined here by Marty Tankleff, my partner in justice, fellow alum of Lovey-Dovey Preschool, an exoneree, an attorney, the Peter P. Mullen Distinguished Visiting Professor at Georgetown, and the co-director of Making an Exoneree. We started this program 9 years ago, and it was an experiment, and it was also a dream to have students fight for the freedom of wrongfully convicted people, just as I had done for Marty. Now, we have turned Making an Exoneree into an institution, not only at Georgetown, but at universities around the country. And we do this with an innovative and distinctive model that has two key features. The first is that it is led by undergraduate students, supported by law students as well a bit, but it's undergraduate driven, where we have our students reinvestigate wrongful conviction cases, read thousands of pages of court documents, appeals, police records, medical records, travel to the field, to the crime scene, to interview witnesses, to go figure out what happened in a particular case, and of course to meet the person in prison and meet their family and tell a story that is humanizing and that supports justice. Second feature is that we don't have them write papers or briefs that, frankly, they don't want to write and we don't want to read. And frankly, nobody wants to read. Instead, we have them create documentaries. Now, they're not film majors, but they still tell a story in these documentaries that you're about to see that are compelling and inspiring. Now, some people say to us, what can students really do? Well, we believe that students are stealth agents in the fight to uncover the truth and to advocate for justice. And tonight's documentary films that you're going to see, which are about 5 wrongfully convicted people who have spent a combined 114 years in prison for crimes they didn't commit, they reflect our trust in our students' ability to tell a story truthfully and powerfully. And based on our track record so far, it's very likely that some, and one day hopefully all, of the people that you're going to learn about will one day be coming home from prison, and that our students will be there to walk with them into freedom. The work that our students do is remarkable. They help shed light on cases and give hope to people who are caught in a web of a legal system that creates the exact opposite of justice. There are currently 2 million Americans who are incarcerated, sitting in cages, and that alone is a human rights atrocity. But when you think that estimates are that 5 to 10% are actually innocent of the crimes they were convicted of, that's at least 100,000 people who are in prison today for crimes they didn't commit, desperately crying for help. And I want you to remember, especially when you watch these films, that our judicial system has the standard of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You hear it in every TV show. Everyone talks about guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And what I encourage you to keep in mind when you're watching these documentaries is, really? There's no reasonable doubt in these cases? If anything, there's no reasonable doubt that they're innocent, much less that they're guilty. So there's nobody who knows this reality in this horror show better than Marty Tankleff.
I know firsthand what many of these wrongfully convicted individuals are experiencing: the injustices, the tragedies, the heartache, the deep hurt of being away from your loved ones. I know because I was wrongfully convicted as a teenager for the murder of my parents, and I spent nearly 18 years in prison for it. We're also here because while I was incarcerated, Mark, my best friend over here since Lovey-Dovey Preschool, made a commitment to do everything he could do to get me out of prison, and his efforts put both of us in a path to creating Making Exoneree at Georgetown and beyond. I am inspired every single day when I see the dedication and determination of the students who go out and reinvestigate these cases. Their impact is real, and it's making a difference. Myself and others here with you all today, thanks in large part to people like them who didn't give up on pursuing injustice. And, you know, people don't understand what this work entails. If you think this happens overnight, very easily, it doesn't. The team of lawyers that fought for me took countless, thousands and thousands of hours. And if you think about what the students in our program can do in essential 3.5, 4 months, it's mind-blowing. And if the students in our programs can achieve this in this short amount of time, we beg upon lawyers, legal experts, prosecutors to take a fresh look and make a difference. I would like all of the people who have been wrongfully convicted to stand. Anybody here? And if there are any wrongfully convicted people watching on Zoom, I would ask you to stand as well. We recognize you time and time again. And what's remarkable is that since 1989, we have uncovered, our system has uncovered, over 3,801 innocent lives lost. It's almost 40,000 years of wrongful imprisonment. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Mark and I would like to acknowledge that people have helped to make all of this possible. As you can see, it's a very long list. And, you know, when we started this program, I think the list was maybe 5 people. But as the program has grown, more and more people are getting involved and seeing the value of what we're doing. Many accomplished speakers and experts have devoted countless hours pro bono to working with our students, offering their time, expertise, passion, and hearts to support our efforts to free the innocent. A special thank you that goes out to continue to support this program year after year, showing up for our students and helping make this experience what it is. Please give them a round of applause. A special thanks to Orlando Trey Jones, who just walked in. Next up, we'd like to thank our remarkable Making Exoneree team. Okay. We'd like to give a special thanks to Sullivan Goudreau, who has been remarkable, and I know our students thank him immensely, do we not? Sully's a magician, I'll just say that much. Although our main focus tonight is on the students, their documentaries, and our entire class program, we wouldn't have been able to be here and without our incredible colleagues. And we really want to thank our family and friends as well. And to those who support our staff, our family, our friends, and loved ones, thank you for supporting us throughout the semester, knowing how much time and dedication we have put in. I want to give a special thanks to my law firm, Barkett Epstein, because outside of my work as a professor here, I am dedicated to fighting the system, doing wrongful conviction work. I want to thank my partner, Tara. And I'm sure Mark wants to thank somebody else. Come on, Exoneree. And I'll leave it to Mark now.
So this is my favorite slide of all, the releases. Because since we started this program in 2018, we've witnessed 13 wrongfully convicted people walk out of prison. And we have many more to come, and some are coming soon. And what I want you to see when you look at those photos is look at the joy on those faces. Look at the connection between the people in those pictures, because in most of those pictures, you see the very students who worked on the cases of someone that they helped free. And there's nothing more beautiful and inspiring than young people working to free the wrongfully convicted. And we've done that 13 different times. Now, as I mentioned, making Exoneree is not only at Georgetown. It's too good of a product to be restricted to one university. So we've created a model and we've developed a team that has helped to expand it to multiple universities around the country. It started with an experiment at Princeton in 2023, and then expanded to New York University, UC Santa Cruz in 2025, and this year at Rice University, and we were just at their documentary showcase on Monday, and they did an amazing job. So this year, we're now at 5 undergraduate schools. We're supported by Georgetown law students in a class taught by Joy Evans and Marty Tankleff. That's right. The undergrads love working with the law students because they get to claim them. They say, our law student. You know, we have our law student doing this and that. They kind of boss them around. But when you put it all together, that's right now, this semester, we are working on 22 cases, 22 people and their families who cried for help, and that we are now bringing an incredible array, an inspiring group of students who are fighting for them, who are trying to free them from prison. And like I said, this model is working. Out of now over 80 cases that we've covered, including this semester, 13 are free. Over a dozen have legal representation pro bono when they didn't have it before. Another dozen have gotten major media attention when they didn't have it before. We're breathing life and giving hope to these people and their families, as you're about to see with the documentaries. But before we get to the documentaries, I want to introduce and welcome to the stage a few very important people to the Making Exoneree program. The first is the one and only Adnan Syed. Adnan, who the world discovered through the podcast Serial and then later Undisclosed, was wrongfully convicted and spent almost 24 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And about a month after he was exonerated and came home, we hired him at Georgetown in the Prisons and Justice Initiative. And one of his main duties is working for the Making an Exoneree program. He works with our students, he supports them, he guides them, he inspires them. He's an extraordinary human being. I'm honored to call him a friend and a colleague, and he hasn't done that much public speaking openly. This is his major debut. And without further ado, please welcome Adnan Syed.
No, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming. As Mark was saying, tonight we're going to hear 5 stories of individuals who've all been wrongfully convicted. Together, they've spent decades in prison for crimes they did not commit. These decades have been away from their families, from their loved ones, from their children, from their parents. And worse than all of that is that the people who actually committed these crimes, they've never been held accountable. Not for 1 second have they been held accountable for the harm that they caused. In all of these cases that we're going to hear tonight, there are victims. There are victims who've been harmed. They've been just subjected to some of the most horrible crimes you can think of. And one of the best things that we do as a society is that we embrace victims. We embrace the family of victims. On the community level, we'll go and visit the house of a family who lost someone to a horrible crime. We'll take them food. Sometimes our religious leaders, they will go and offer prayers and condolences. And we do this as a community because this is something that helps us show that we want to comfort those families while they're suffering in their grief. And we do it on a community level. We also do it on a state level. We do it on a governmental level, in that from the moment that a crime occurs and the family is identified, the state and local government will provide what's called victim services, which are so important and they're so necessary. They'll involve counseling with professionals. They'll involve financial resources. They'll involve, even if it's someone just sitting with the family during the trial. And that's something that we as a society is so important to us. It's so important to everyone here that we support victims, and especially victims' families. And it goes on past the trial. Even just on a personal level, we all may know someone. And we'll go to their house and we'll remember them on their birthdays, and we'll remember them on holidays. And we'll tell the families that your son or your daughter or your mother or your father, they deserve to be here. What happened to them was wrong. And we stand with you, and we're here to comfort you, and we'll always be with you. In cases of wrongful convictions, like the ones you're going to hear tonight, there's a term that comes up, and it comes from the academic study of wrongful convictions. And this term is called secondary victims. In each of these cases, you're going to meet secondary victims. And the term secondary, it doesn't denote a level of importance. It's not a hierarchy of, well, who suffered more, who suffered less. From an academic standpoint, its reference is a timeline. That the first victim in this case was the person who was murdered or who was harmed. And the person who committed that crime, that was their victim. The secondary victim is the person who was arrested and charged with the crime they did not commit. The secondary victim is the mom and the dad and the brother and the sister and the son and the daughter of that person who was arrested for the crime they did not commit. You will meet 5 of these people tonight who are secondary victims, and I acknowledge the professor who brought this to my attention about this term. And for these secondary victims, there are no resources available. The community does not turn to them and say, we're here for you. The community instead tells them, your son doesn't deserve to be here. Your son deserves to be locked away for the rest of their life. Your son has lost the right to be out here with us. And there's no help from the state either. There are no resources made available. So when these families are struggling financially, emotionally, spiritually, no help comes to them. And no one on any holiday will ever go to them and say, your son deserves to be here. And that's what we're really here to do tonight. That for the first time, publicly, for everyone to see, this community is here to offer support and love to those families who have suffered so much, and they've had to hold their head down. Because no one in the community or in the world will say to them, we believe you, that your son was innocent, that he's incarcerated for a crime he did not commit, and he deserves to be home with you. He deserves to be home with you on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, on New Year's, on Hanukkah, whatever holiday it is that they celebrate. We're here to say to each of these families, we believe you, we support you, and that we're going to do everything we possibly can to right this injustice that occurred. So you're going to hear the stories tonight of Scott, Markel, Jeremy, Anthony, and Sabor. And when you hear these stories, I hope that you, as always, we honor and we respect the victims in these cases. We're simply here today to remind everyone and to teach everyone that there are secondary victims as well. And we're here to say that we care about them. And to everyone in here, when you hear these stories, what you can do is you can spread the word. If everyone in here can invite 3 or 4 or 5 people to look at the documentary themselves, and that's the best thing that everyone in here can do. So without that, I'm so excited to hear from the next person. And but I definitely am grateful for everyone to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adnan. And we as a society are so much better off with you home. You're incredible and such an inspiration. Now, the next special guest that I'd like to introduce has a connection to this room, to this program from 3 years ago, almost to the day, when we were all, many of the same people, different students, were gathered here for the showcase in 2023 of Making Exoneree. And we watched 5 amazing documentaries, and one of them was about a man named John Kinsel, who was sentenced to life without parole in the state of Louisiana for a crime that did not happen. Not a crime that he did not commit, a crime that did not exist. And John was sentenced to life without parole. And in September 2025, after 28 years in prison for a crime that never existed, John walked out of prison into the arms of Jack Healy and Justin Cassera. Claire Kim couldn't be there, but was a part of the incredible student team who welcomed him into freedom. And I'd like to invite all of them, the 3 students, Jack, Justin, and Claire, along with John Kinsel, up to the stage to celebrate John's freedom. Please stand. love the pictures, but I want to hear from John, and I know you do too. So, John, I'm going to ask you to come up and share just a little bit about what it's like to be in this room where we first brought attention to your case and to your plight, and to be with these students who advocated for you, who fought for you, and who were, in 2 of the cases, were there to walk you into freedom. What is it like? How does it feel, John?
It's amazing.
Step up to the mic.
There's no words that can explain it. You know, after 28 years in prison, and it's just unbelievable that I finally made it out. And I got to say thank you to everybody that had a part in it to help me get out of prison.
Why don't you guys come up? Jack, Claire, Justin, if you could just share a few words about the role you played and the work you did, and what role John Kinsel has played in your life.
They told me I had to speak first. Just very, very quickly, I'd say the real honor. You learn, you do the nuts and bolts of your cases. You all know you've done that this semester. You learn how messed up it is, how easy it is to send somebody to prison for, in this case, something that didn't even happen. It's really hard to get them out. And so for me, I think for us, what was most rewarding was not just seeing John walk free, but joining a team effort that had been going on nonstop for those 28 years. And so in John's case, his family, his older sisters, his sister Alice, Adrian Alberts, can I say, yeah. now fiance that is here. So joining that team and helping to make the difference and get it over the finish line, but joining the work that had been done and the hope that had not been given up was really special for all of us.
I still remember at the first day of class, I don't know if this is a phrase that Mark always uses, but he said, it takes one person to put them in jail, but it takes a whole village to get them out of prison. And this is something that I really resonated with and something that we were able to relate to because, like Jack just mentioned, there was a whole villagers that were helping us through this process. And I was just so grateful to be part of that process. Is something, a commitment that I take on beyond just Georgetown after I graduated, but also to my law school and then to my legal career. And I'm just so grateful to everyone to be able to have this opportunity, and most grateful to be able to meet John, but also outside of prison now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add beyond what my wonderful team has already said. I think back to when I was in the program, and Adnan said to us once, you never know the thing that's actually going to like break through and give way. You can feel like you're hitting your head against the wall for years and years and years, but you have to just keep going and keep trying, because one of those things might be the thing that results in someone's release from prison. I'm part of a program now in law school as well, where I do a bunch of legal aid work as part of my law school experience, and I think about that phrase a lot whenever I'm representing my clients today. And I'm just really grateful for the program, the opportunity, and the chance to be part of something like this.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. The students came down and traveled to be here. Their dedication to John, to this program, and to justice is incredibly inspiring to me, and I know to all of the people here. So thank you all. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, the world premiere of the 2026 Making Exoneree student documentaries. First up, Team Anthony Thompson.
Hi, everyone. We're Team Thompson. I'm Katie.
I'm Sydney.
I'm Steve.
And my name is Rhea, and we're Team Anthony Thompson. Anthony Thompson calls Jacksonville, Florida, his home. But for the last 34 years, he hasn't been back. Growing up in the 80s, Anthony loved keeping up with the coolest fashion trends and following his favorite sports teams, especially the Jaguars. But more than anything, he was, and he still is, a loving and protective son, brother, uncle, and friend. As a kid, Anthony always looked out for his younger sister, Regina, even if it meant walking across the entire city to get her home after school. But at just 23 years old, Anthony was convicted of second-degree murder. Since then, Anthony has been serving a life without possibility of parole sentence in Jacksonville, Florida. We hope that Anthony's story shows you that he has always been a fighter. Even now, when Anthony misses a birthday or a holiday, he draws his loved ones a card by hand, or he gets someone to help him, still showing up for them in every way that he can.
Anthony has been representing himself, teaching himself the law and filing appeals on his own behalf. As we dug deeper into his case, we traveled to Pensacola and Jacksonville, Florida, following leads and taking a closer look at the investigation. Along the way, we've gotten to know Anthony, but also his support system. We were overwhelmed by the amount of friends and family that came to speak with us about Anthony's innocence and character as a person.
Through the Georgetown Law Making an Exoneree course, I was assigned to work with this amazing undergraduate team on Anthony's case this semester. I'm so grateful to Joy, Mark, and Marty, and the entire PJI staff for giving me this opportunity and for their support throughout this experience. Getting to know Anthony and work on his case has taught me so much about who I want to be, both as a legal professional and a person. I can only hope that our team's efforts have done for Anthony's future even just a fraction of what his story has done for mine. Anthony's case is a devastating example of injustice and the failure of the legal system. At this point, more than anything else, he needs an attorney. Through this documentary, we hope to showcase the fundamental miscarriage of justice that Anthony is facing and find the legal advocate that he deserves.
We would like to thank the entire Making an Exoneree team and the many experts that we consulted this semester for their guidance and support. We'd especially like to share our gratitude to Anthony's family and friends, many of whom are watching tonight from Jacksonville, for their remarkable warmth and openness. Anthony's unjust conviction has had ripple effects throughout his entire family. With boundless love and dedication, Anthony's mother, Rudine, who has felt every moment of her child's pain, along with his sister and fiercest advocate, Regina, have been unwavering in their support of Anthony. This documentary is as much for them as it is for him. And to Anthony, who brightens every morning with his daily message, "How's my favorite young lady today? I hope you're living life to its very fullest," who reflects on humanity and resilience in his poignant poetry, yet humbly swears that he's not a poet. We hope that this documentary does justice to your case and makes you proud. It is impossible not to admire Anthony for his selflessness, his undeniable swag and style, and his ability to maintain faith and positivity despite all that he has endured. We hope that he feels he has finally told his story on his own terms, and that his truth ultimately prevails so that real justice will one day be served. And with that, we give you Waiting on That Golden Light, 34 Years Stolen from Anthony Thompson.
In that little neighborhood where the murder happened, the victim had several different, I think the testament was 8 different apartments which he sold drugs out of. Mr. Ford sold about $50,000 worth of drugs per day. It was clear from the way that he was positioned that he was executed, his execution style. He was laying down and the bullets went through him and into the floor.
I remember I was out there and I heard that dude got killed. think no more about it.
The gentleman by the name of Larsy Rock had confessed to the murder, had pled to the murder, and was serving time in state prison.
The day they arrested me, September 24th, 1992, he told me the motorcycle police pulled me over. He said, we want you got you for a murder. I said, I ain't killed nobody. He said, yes, you did in 1990. I said, no, I didn't. God never knew in my life. Never seen him a day in my life. I swear on everything I love. I never knew this dude. It's the strangest thing in the world because I never knew this guy.
I'm not sure to this day, it was even unclear at the time of the trial, what led them to come back to Anthony. They never had any real evidence.
This entire case is based on a few species of evidence that we've come to realize are unreliable.
Larsy Rock was key. I mean, he admitted to the crime. Now, who confesses to a murder they didn't commit? I expected him to recant that at trial. And at trial, he reaffirmed that he shot Mr. Ford in the back of the head.
If there's any doubt about Larsy Rock's accusation, then there's real doubt about Anthony's guilt.
I just didn't think there was any possible way that the jury could convict Anthony without some hard evidence and with someone else confessing to the crime.
In this situation, you have a couple of eyewitnesses that give, at the time of the crime, a relatively consistent description of a short, dark-skinned man. And that is the description that should stand as the most accurate description. At trial, when we finally get there, the person that they identified bears no resemblance to that description. Tall, thin. This is not the description of the person that they encoded at the time of the crime.
As a defense attorney, you want to hit that hard. Why did you say they were short? Why did you say they were dark-skinned? When now you're saying he was tall and he's light-skinned. You know, the person didn't change.
And in the interim, we're able to point to a variety of potentially suggestive influences. And the key for me is a media article.
By the time they testified at trial, Anthony's picture had been in the Florida Star, you know, and so they knew that he wasn't a short, dark-skinned man.
One of the witnesses says to the police officer that she saw that photo before he appeared in a photo spread before her. Now we can absolutely not disentangle that corruption of evidence from when she actually picks him out from the photo spread. Well, the procedure that the officer followed absolutely doesn't follow our recommendations. For one thing, they knew who the suspect was. The person administering the photo spread or lineup should not know who the suspect is. It's also the case that the photos should in no way look different. And from what I saw, there was writing on all but one. That's not okay. So all of the photos should be consistent.
But I believe the testimony and all in the trial took 3 to 4 days. And so the jury goes out and really I'm expecting a quick verdict because I don't think the state's come close to proving the case, especially not to beyond to the reasonable doubt.
33 years. September 24th, 1992 to this day, March 10th, 2026. I was 23, I'm 56 now. When they found me guilty, man, hey, I took it like a soldier, you know. I took it like a soldier. I mean, ain't no use to crying about it. I mean, I fought, you know. I tried my appeals, but I got bamboozled on that, you know. Just keep fighting.
It's one of the most frustrating cases I've had in 45 years. It's just it's one of those ones you just kind of never get over.
Unfortunately, and people don't understand unless you have someone you love that's in prison, you do the time with them. You really do. Every birthday, every Christmas, my kids get a card or something from him. Even if he has to draw the card or pay someone to draw it in prison, they get a card. That's amazing to me. He missed so much, so many Christmases and 34 Thanksgiving, 34 Christmases. So that's heartbreaking for my mom, who was, in her 40s when he went away? She's 70, she's gonna be 76 this year.
Oh, my child. Oh, my child. He don't deserve to be away no 33 years. Every now and then he'll tell me, he say, Mama, he say, I'm all right if you all right. Cause he tell me that every time he talks. Right if you
I hope that someday he gets some justice. And I do believe that Mr. Thompson was unlawfully and wrongfully convicted.
When storms surround me and on the clouds I see, my strength comes from my radical acceptance that this is the hand dealt to me. I would never fold. I would try to understand why I was dealt a bad hand in the game of life. I should still wait upon that golden light.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fallon. This is Ben, Anjali, and Abby, and we're Team Jeremy Phillips. Jeremy Phillips has spent nearly 20 years behind bars after being wrongfully convicted of first-degree arson and first-degree murder. Although we spent many nights reinvestigating Jeremy's case, poring over hundreds of documents, records, and transcripts, the most important thing we learned throughout the course of this semester is that Jeremy is so much more than unjust circumstances. Jeremy's faith in humanity, his concern for others, and the way he views the world have deeply touched all of us. And we're honored to share even just a small glimpse of who he is with you all tonight.
Jeremy is the most grounded, down-to-earth person I've ever met. He is incredibly compassionate and thoughtful and gives significantly more than he gets in return. While being incarcerated, Jeremy has earned a degree from Columbia International University, graduating with a 4.0 GPA. He uses this degree to work as a peer support specialist, helping people who are suffering from mental health challenges and addiction challenges. I can't get into everything he's accomplished, but I am willing to bet that his CV is longer than yours. To Jeremy, thank you for your strength, your courage, and your resilience. You inspire us to be better people every day, and we are honored to join you on this fight for your freedom and correcting injustice. It has been an honor to know you, to love you, and to learn from you, and I can't express how grateful we are.
While dedicating so much of his time to helping other incarcerated people, Jeremy has also been fighting to reverse his wrongful conviction with no legal background and no attorney for many years. He knows this case better than anyone else. He's made notes on hundreds of pages of trial transcripts, documents, and records, and he recently filed a post-conviction relief petition without any legal help. We hope that this documentary will help him find legal assistance so that the South Carolina courts will take these injustices seriously.
It's been so amazing working with Jeremy over the past few months. It's really taught me that when everything in your life is unjustly taken from you, your story becomes one of the most valuable things you have, and we're all just so honored that Jeremy has trusted us to share his story with you. We'd also like to thank the Making an Exoneree team, Mark, Marty, everyone else, and as well as Jeremy's friends and family, including Tamala Standard, who I know is watching on Zoom tonight. For 2 decades, Jeremy has been fighting every day, just trying to get people to listen to him. So this documentary is really a testament to his tenacity, resilience, belief in himself, and his own innocence. We hope this documentary makes him proud and finally allows his voice to be heard. So without further ado, this is A Life of Service, the story of Jeremy Phillips.
I'm Jeremy Phillips. I'm a regular dude. There's nothing really special about me. Been a Jesus follower for about a decade and a half. Try to practice his ways of kindness and tolerance. Straight out of high school, I joined the 82nd Airborne Division. I was an 18-year-old kid, full of energy, hopes, aspirations. I really enjoyed it. It was for the first time I left my tiny little town of Cowpen, South Carolina, and began to meet people from all 50 states. At the end of my enlistment, I returned home, honorable discharge. I love my family. I love our country. I miss the outdoors. I guess that kind of sums me up. I met my co-defendant in 2005, Jesse Willis. And through that period, I met his mother. She was the local pill dealer and bootlegger. On the day of the incident, Hazel sent Jesse to go to their next door neighbor, Juan's, to get some alcohol that Juan owed them. I walked down there. I'm not exactly sure what was said, but Jesse and Juan was talking, and next thing I knew, they was rolling around in the dirt in the front yard, like 2 school kids at recess. In hindsight, I should have stuck around. I should have tried to been there to steer the ship to prevent things from spiraling.
The state's theory was that Jeremy Phillips and Jesse Willis got into a fight with the victim, knocked him unconscious, and shortly thereafter lit his trailer on fire. However, phone records show that the fight ended at 8:17 p.m. that night, and it wasn't until 3 hours later, around 11:30 p.m., that neighbors called 911 about the trailer fire. On the day of the incident, Hazel had been drinking throughout the day.
I, Jesse Willis, do confess to beating Juan Roman and taking his boots and phone on August 30th, 2006. Then I run to Jeremy and Nakia's, but they was not home, so I got Jeremy's gas jug off his porch, went back to Juan's, and set it on fire. I sold Jeremy his phone the next day for $10. This is my sworn statement. Signed, Jesse Willis.
I was like, It was a breath of fresh air. I was like, okay, at some point they're going to come release me. They're going to do their investigating. They're going to figure out what's going on, and they're going to let me go. And my trial lawyer kind of presented that same line of thought to me.
Jeremy's trial attorney failed to admit Jesse's confession into evidence, and because of that, the jury never saw it.
So you don't just take the statement and offer it to the judge. Either you're calling the person that has that information, or it furthers your investigation because now you're corroborating aspects of the confession if there's some reason why you're unable to actually call that person to the stand.
Now here I am almost 2 decades in, asking all of these educated people and law enforcement, hey, the record supports this, will you look at it? And until y'all came along, no one's ever looked at it.
The manner that he treats people and the way that he talks, to me, is that much more remarkable, that he's innocent and that he still helps people, works with people, mentors people.
After graduation, Jeremy, he's been at a couple of places, but the primary role that he filled for multiple years was working in the crisis stabilization unit. And he did it just out of love and care for guys, wanting to carry the hope of the gospel to them and show them that they mattered and that they had worth.
This was the most darkest time of my life. And man, this guy, he wouldn't leave my door, whether I was hallucinating or whatever. He remained there by my side. He was a beacon of light.
So it's very humbling when it comes to helping somebody dig deep into themselves, because you have to kind of connect and you relate to that. You have to feel their pain. You have to be there with them in order to walk them to the pathway of their choosing so they can begin to crawl out of that hole.
He transforms lives back here. I mean, he helped transform my life. He plays a huge role in my recovery and just life period. I mean, without him, I'd be dead.
I don't know how you make up for 20 years of being chained and inside and watching your family and friends disappear. But I'm hopeful that he gets a chance to find out.
I would so greatly enjoy sitting in the porch swing, looking at the sky, or watching the trees and the birds, or see kids play in the front yard. There's things that are very typical are kind of the most important things in life. We just overlook them.
If there was anybody that needs that needs to get up out of this place or needs some type of relief, who doesn't deserve this, it's Jeremy Phillips.
This is a genuine plea for help, and I'm not asking for help in any way other than to stop ignoring me. I just don't want to be ignored anymore. Please stop ignoring me and just look at the facts, look at the record. Don't listen to my story, don't listen to my words. Persuasive arguments are trash. Just look at the record. That's all I'm asking.
Good evening. I'm Robin, this is Totten, and this is Erin, and we are Team Jones. "13 years ago, Scott Jones was wrongfully convicted of murder and attempted murder for a crime he did not commit. He is currently serving 2 consecutive life sentences. Our reinvestigation of Scott's case brought us to Alabama, where we spoke with lawyers, advocates for Scott, and others connected to the case. This project would not have been possible without the unwavering support of the entire MAE team. We would also like to thank our law student Jules, who sadly could not be with us here tonight. Finally, we would like to thank every lawyer and expert who so graciously devoted their time and resources to help Scott. We are very grateful.
Over the past 4 months, we've had the privilege of getting to know Scott Jones. Scott, who still insists on calling each of us ma'am and sir, and teaches us a new Southern expression every week, is one of the most kind, funny, and selfless people I have ever met. He spent 18 years working as a volunteer EMT and search and dive rescuer, and it remains one of the greatest joys of his life. While incarcerated, Scott wakes up at 3 a.m. every morning to work 3 different jobs throughout the day, and he's most proud of his time spent working in the hospice unit, sitting with incarcerated men in their final days of life. We are incredibly grateful that Scott has trusted us to tell his story. We also wanted to take a moment to thank Scott's mother, Patsy, who has stood by Scott's side for the past 14 years, fighting each day to get someone to listen to her son's story. Patsy is joining us here tonight, so please join us in giving her a well-deserved round of applause.
Now, Robin shared that Scott was convicted and subsequently sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms, meaning that he's slated to spend both this life and his next behind bars. And it's baffling it's difficult to conceive of a greater misuse of Scott's selflessness, his sense of humor, his love for his family, his dream of one day having a family of his own, than condemning him to serve 2 lifetimes behind bars. And that terrible misuse of Scott's talent and potential is compounded by the fact that Scott did not commit this crime. Now, I'll echo Mark and say that as you're watching Scott's story, I'd like you to remember the standard required to convict Scott: beyond a reasonable doubt. And with that standard in mind, we're honored to present Scott's story in 1 Man, 2 life sentences, the story of Scott Jones.
My name is Scott Jones, better off known as inmate 292237 of the Alabama Department of Corrections. I've been locked up 14 years for a crime that I did not commit. I'm asking for someone to please just hear me and listen to my story.
The Mobile County Sheriff's Office is investigating a deadly home invasion in Codeine.
2 89-year-old victims brutally attacked. Elizabeth Dugan survived, but her friend Lawrence Hudson was found dead in the living room.
He lived there with his grandmother, and he and Mr. Hutchins had a history of not getting along. In fact, the police have been called out there at least on 1 occasion.
We proved everything that he said, to us that night was a lie. Everything was just pointing to him at the time with the answers that he was giving us. I mean, someone that hasn't done anything wrong doesn't lie.
There was some blood evidence in his room there at the house. Mr. Hutchins' blood was there. So he was initially indicted. The case proceeded on for just a little bit against him, and then mysteriously he was dismissed from the case. As far as Andre Sales goes, for my money, it's unfathomable that you have a victim's DNA in his bedroom, and you've got prior incidents of violence between those two, and his case is just dismissed in the middle of the night, really. Tony Parker had reached out to the district attorney's office from jail on several occasions, saying that he had information in other big cases around Mobile. He also eventually told the prosecution that he and my client committed this murder together. He solicits the government and says, here's what I can give you. And they use him.
When I first heard Tony Parker was giving them information, I was like, his ass is just trying to get out of jail is all he's trying to do. I don't think he has any type of integrity whatsoever.
As far as theory of prosecution is concerned, to me, it's preposterous. All right, you had 3 people with all manner of incentives to give statements that would benefit them and hurt Scott. So Tony Parker is a co-defendant. He implicated himself in this matter. You also look at his brother, Brian Parker, the other Parker, and then you have Miss Alicia Hay, who is Brian's girlfriend, saying that he had confessed that he's committed this horrible murder. Between these 3, they had some 20-some-odd state and federal convictions between them. So the motive, according to your snitches, is a money grab. I think they left behind about $600 or $800 at the home, so not a very good money grab.
The robbery thing, we kind of marked that out whenever we saw the money on the bed, because if it was money, there was $600-700 sitting there. Why didn't they take that if it was an actual robbery and they were looking for money? That case was messed up from the beginning.
So one of the great conundrums of the world of informants is, why would the government rely on witnesses that we all understand are unreliable? The government understands it, the judge understands it, lawyers understand it, possibly everyone except the jury in the room understands. And the answer is, when their cases are weak. When the government lacks strong evidence, forensic evidence, other witnesses, it is more tempting to rely on unreliable witnesses.
As far as finding evidence that links him to the scene, there's none whatsoever. As far as this blood testing and DNA, Mr. Jones was excluded. Exclusion is absolute. So that means the DNA that was found there could not possibly match.
Now, in closing arguments, District Attorney Ashley Rich picked up the baseball bat that was entered as evidence and described what she says Jones did during the attack.
So in this particular case, the baseball bat that was found had no evidence at all that there was any blood. Without any evidence at all, there's no way you can say that this was anything other than a baseball bat that was found out in the environment. It may have nothing to do with the case.
The trial of a murder suspect is underway in Government Plaza. You may remember Scott Jones.
Jones faces 20 years to life in prison on each charge, and Rich says she will ask for the maximum.
The 2 lives, I don't know how to do that. I can't give you but 1 life. That's all I have.
I know Scott did not commit this crime, and I'm never going to give up. I will never give up on my son. He's an innocent man, and I'll be there for him till the very end. I want my last breath. I'll be there.
I love her so much that I'll do anything in the world for her. That's one of my biggest dreams, is being able to get out and have time with her.
Scott was always a very kind, extremely generous child. He always had a smile for you, and for instance, if he had a sucker and you said, "Can I have a lick?" "Oh, you're gonna get the whole sucker." He was just a great kid.
The the dreams that I always had was be able to raise a family. I've always wanted to have my own little horse ranch, be able to have a piece of land. Just if I want to fish, if I want to just sit there and look at the stars and moon. I mean, I've missed out on so much.
My oldest son actually lived with Scott and my sister for a while. My son was very, very troubled. Scott took him under his wing and raised him for a couple of years. The day we found out the verdict, kind of like the whole world went black. My son tried to kill himself by overdosing on methamphetamines. Because that's his dad, that's his uncle, and he knows he didn't do this.
We don't get Christmas and we don't get Thanksgiving. We don't get birthdays. So we would celebrate those. The one thing I would do with Scott, I think if I could, I would hug him, I would cry with him. Give me a minute. No, I think we would start a new life. That's what I think. A life he deserves.
Sorry, we're just waiting for Jana to come down here, so.
Hi everyone, thank you all for being here today and for supporting these amazing individuals through their journey. My name is Jenna and I'm the law student on Sabur Tyler's case. I've had the privilege of working alongside William, Lindsay, and Lucy and our attorneys Matt and Ikra. When we think of incarcerated individuals, we may think of prison complexes and statistics. And when we try to solve these problems, like wrongful incarcerations, we may approach it from a systemic perspective. But one thing that this experience has taught me is the importance of understanding, highlighting, and humanizing individual stories. Working with Sabur has been a life-changing experience for all of us, and this team of students has beautifully captured his story and the person he is. We're so excited to share it with you guys today, so without further ado, I'll hand over to Lucy.
Oh yeah. I'm William.
I'm Lindsay. I'm Lucy, and we're Team Tyler. One of the most difficult parts of making this documentary was deciding how best to tell Sabur's story, because it is one of loss, poverty, and a system that failed him at every stage of life. Sabur was born in Murfreesboro, North Carolina in 1969. He grew up in extreme poverty as one of 11 siblings. When he was just 9 years old, his father died. By 17, he had lost his mother too. He was a quiet child, especially close with his mother. After her death, he never finished high school. Instead, he moved in with his girlfriend, Yvonne, in an attempt to rebuild the family he had lost so young. In 1993, tragedy struck Sabur once again when Yvonne died in a kerosene heater accident. Despite a lack of evidence, Sabur was charged with her murder. The prosecution withheld exculpatory evidence, and his defense attorneys failed to advocate for him. It has now been nearly 31 years since Sabur was convicted that day in 1995. One life was lost in 1993, and the state of North Carolina chose to take another. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you everyone for being here. I do not say this lightly, but getting to know Sabur has changed me. Since January, as a group, we've talked to Sabur every week on the phone. We had the opportunity to spend time with him in person in North Carolina 3 separate times. And in these interactions over the last few months, we have come to know a few things to be true about Sabur. Sabur is honest. Sabur is thoughtful. He is a deeply faithful man. He reads a lot. He has found true friendship on death row, which defies everything that we know about prison conditions and says everything about who he is.
Sabor gives great advice and is very discerning. He loves music, especially 80s hip hop. Sabor is extremely funny. He has a big laugh and a beautiful smile. The one thing that stands out to us the most about Sabor is how he values family. Every time we're on the phone with him, he asks us how our parents are doing. He urges us to call them as often as possible and reminds us to keep important people close. When we think about Sabor, what is perhaps the most painful is that he was never able to start a family of his own. He is a loving person, and I often find myself thinking about the family he never got to have. But instead, he has spent the last 30 plus years on death row for a crime that never happened. Thank you.
So I'm just going to run through some thank yous really quickly. There's so many people to thank, but thank you to the entire MAE team, to Jana, our law student, to our friends and families for being with us through this crazy process. Thank you to the people in our film, including Frank Baumgardner, Mark Katz, Nick Neutrons, who helped us with the music. Thank you to Doug Carpenter, a fire expert who is here today, for lending us your expertise. Sabor's case is so much better off because you worked on it. Thank you to Sabor's amazing lawyers, Matt and Ikra. Ikra is also here today, and she just had a baby, so it's like kind of crazy that she's here. Thank you to Jamie, Tyler, Darlene, and the rest of Sabor's family for telling us about your brother. Thank you to Aleem Braxton, who is Sabor's closest friend on death row. I think he might be listening over the phone to this. He's his strongest advocate, and we would not be here without you, Aleem, so thank you very much. And finally, thank you to Sabor for trusting us to tell your story. We hope that we have made you proud. In honor of Sabor's faith, we want to leave you all with a quote from the Quran that I think really sums up the spirit of the work we do. It reads, "Whoever saves one life, it is as if he has saved all of humanity." And with that, we are very proud to present our film, I Dare Not Dream, Innocent on North Carolina's Death Row. Thank you.
Welcome to Death Row. Please remove all of your clothing and personal effects and place them into the white bag as we dress you out in a one-piece red jumpsuit with Department of Corrections on the tag. You will be fingerprinted, photographed, and assigned to a cell in this institution where you will dwell for the remainder of your days until it is time for your execution. Welcome to Death Row. Welcome to Death Row.
When you're innocent and you are like incarcerated every day, it feels like a week or a month. And it's something that you can't get used to. My name is Stacy Sabor Tyler. I'm an innocent man on death row. I've been incarcerated for over 30 years. I was in the kitchen. She screamed my name, but I just seen flame. I panicked. I was in shock. I was scared. I think that the only thing that if I could think was probably just put out the fire.
The most reliable determination I can come to is that, this kerosene heater was being refueled with kerosene that's contaminated with gasoline. And resulted in a flare-up and the ignition of the clothing on the victim.
From the moment paramedics encountered her for the first time and up until her hospitalization, she was asked a couple times whether Sabor did this to her, lit her on fire, and whether this was an accident, like a heater flare-up accident. She denied that Sabor did this to her, and she would confirm that it was just a heater accident. And this is when she was not under any sedatives. So the state and Sabor's story basically put forward this narrative of domestic abuse that was building up over time between Sabor and Yvonne, that somehow eventually led to Sabor lighting Yvonne on fire.
There is no evidence in this particular case to formulate the hypothesis that this was gasoline poured on the victim and then just ignited independent of anything that was going on with the heater. Definitely evidence that was not used, and there was alternative hypotheses for how this fire actually started that did not seem to be considered.
And at this point, Yvonne's intubated. She can't even speak, so the only way she can communicate is through nodding or shaking her head. And shortly before the interview began, she was given another dosage of the drugs that she's being administered, including fentanyl. In this interview, the nurse asked a question again, whether Sabur did this to her. That's the first question. And she shakes her head no. And then after a series of leading questions, Yvonne eventually shakes her head to yes. In Yvonne's situation, a competency assessment would have been needed to see whether Yvonne could even understand the questions and whether she could respond to the questions in an appropriate manner.
I couldn't get over the fact that she had passed. So it's still hard to talk about, because Yvonne was my lady. I loved her.
There is no testimony from law enforcement or police at trial regarding any instances of abuse from Sabur, going to their residence to handle any situation regarding abuse. And quite frankly, there's no arrests on him for anything even close to violence.
I mean, I can remember like it was yesterday, and the judge hit that gavel and said, may God rest your soul, or something like that. That really, really hurt. That really hurt. Because like I say, we was close. Still hurt to this day.
I'm just convinced no one really knew him from the beginning. Because I'm just thinking about who he is, the situation he's gone through, 32 years on death row, and still the way he speaks, and the way he just wants his story to be told from his perspective.
I think telling your story is really attesting to your own humanity, and it's claiming your agency.
For like years, I've been trying to get people to hear me, but nobody would. It means a lot. It really does. I almost feel human again.
I think of Sabur just in terms of his personality. Some of the words that come to mind are gentle, kind, thoughtful, shy. I really believe in Sabur's innocence. And what I realized is that he has, I think until now actually, he has lost hope, and he hasn't had hope for decades.
And the legislative intent as it relates to people on death row has two factors. One is that there should be a 2-year time limit on all appeals. And the second is that it should open up the state to use any method of execution that's currently allowed in any other state.
Yeah, well, I tell them all the time I love you. That's the main thing. And I believe your innocence. I wholeheartedly do. I tell them all the time, just keep fighting.
I once asked him if he ever dreamed about what it would be like to be free, and he said, "I dare not dream."
The time is so long, because you know that you are somewhere where you ain't supposed to be. It's hard to put into words where free people can understand.
My name is Connor Dwin, and I'm honored to be here tonight with my teammates Ruby Lilly, Risa Yoshikawa, and our wonderful law student, William Kessinger. Over the past 4 months, we've come to know Markel Lundy, a man serving 22 years for a crime he did not commit. Standing alongside him every step of the way has been his best friend and fiercest advocate, Ivory Randolph. Thank you so much, Ivory. But what's brought us here tonight is in large part Markel himself. Over 12 years, he spent countless hours in the prison library attempting to secure representation, researching his own case, and filing handwritten appeals. His perseverance is a major reason we're able to fight for him today.
Markel was convicted in February of 2014 with about 1.5 years credit time served. The end of his current definite sentence is in July of 2034. Since his conviction, Markel has appealed his case directly through his appeal of right, which was botched and raised no issues on appeal, and on direct appeal to the Ohio Supreme Court, both of which were denied. Subsequently, Markel would discover a third-party eyewitness to the incident. Markel brought a signed affidavit to the Ohio Innocence Project, whom would later find a motion for leave for a motion for new trial. The court determined this evidence came too late and wouldn't allow it to be considered. On appeal, the Ohio Supreme Court agreed to take the case. However, the issue before they could rule on it became moot, and the trial court motion for leave was granted after gaining support by the state after they met with a third-party eyewitness, believing that Markel deserved a new trial. When the day of the hearing came, the witness did not show, and the motion was dismissed without prejudice. 2 years later, Markel would file his own federal habeas corpus petition, arguing several constitutional deficiencies in his trial. After denial by a magistrate judge and subsequent denial by a district judge, the district court refused to issue a certificate of appealability. Markel's case found MAE when it was on appeal before the Sixth Circuit, and Markel was without an attorney. Since we began working on Markel's case together, we cast a net and were able to get Markel representation from one of the most notorious appellate attorneys in Ohio. Past that, we have reinitiated the testing and analysis of critical cell phone and DNA evidences with hopes that these conclusions and legal counsel will support Markel's release. On the back end, we've been preparing a sentence commutation application for Markel, full of letters from expert witnesses, friends, family, advocates, and MAE staff, outlining Markel's innocence and why he deserves to be released. We hope to send this application, along with the documentary, to the Governor of Ohio, all Ohio representatives and senators, and broadly to the public in order to share Markel's story with the world at large.
Throughout our many conversations, we each have had the pleasure of getting to know Markel as an incredibly thoughtful and thoroughly goofy character. His favorite rapper is Busta Rhymes. He loves going to bed early. He recently called to let me know how awesome he thinks the movie Pitch Perfect is. Markel is constantly reading the news. He worries about the wars raging on the other side of the world and the natural disasters striking others' backyards. Markel is kind. He sent me his condolences when my football team lost the Super Bowl, and he confirms that he is not taking up too much of my time when our weekly chats go over. He doesn't know that speaking to him is often the highlight of my day. As William mentioned, Team Lundy has been working on a commutation application for Markel. As part of the package, Markel recently drafted his own letter maintaining his innocence, and in it he wrote, "This experience has been a nightmare, but I'm grateful for the good that still exists in my life. I carry no bitterness, only hope." When he gets out of prison, Markel hopes to take his stand-up comedy routine on the road, reunite with Ivory, and finally try Olive Garden bottomless breadsticks with his May family.
As you watch his documentary tonight, we hope you get a taste of the joy that Markel brings into every life that he touches. Despite the terrible situation that he's in, Markale tries to make the most of every experience that he has. He views his wrongful incarceration as an opportunity to expose injustice and end corruption. We hope that you not only feel enraged by the way the justice system has failed Markale, but also by the way that it's failed thousands of people in America, including the 4 other amazing individuals that you've seen documentaries for tonight. For years, Markale has been ignored, and the facts of his case have been set aside for a corrupt agenda. But today, his story will be told. His innocence will be illuminated, and injustice will be exposed in this room today. And someday, Markale will get to come back to Richmond. This is the story of Markale Lundy.
Yo! It's your boy, Dogface.
What's up, America? My name is Markale. So my friends call me Dogface.
Dogface. Dogface. It's your boy, Dogface.
My name is Markale Lundy. I'm from Franklin County, Virginia. I'm a Pisces. I'm a comedian. I like to make people laugh. I like to laugh myself. I didn't grow up the best. Poor, no guidance, no structure, no money. And my stupid ass was out there stealing. "13 years was a stiff punishment, but I learned structure. I learned guidance. I got out 2011.
I got my Social Security card today, so tomorrow I'm gonna take y'all on a little trip. You know, go get this job. I'm excited about that. Really excited, you know.
Just came off the interview.
Yeah, I just got the job, and that's what's up.
As the future presents itself, we're gonna see what happens, man. But one thing y'all not gonna see, you're not gonna see Dogface going back to prison. That's for sure. That's for damn sure.
What is your emergency? This is 1480 Burstock Road. I've been stabbed several times in my neck. But who stabbed you? I don't know. I need help, please. Did you do that? No, I don't know.
Initially, my understanding is that she and her roommate told the police that 2 white men did this, but eventually the story changed, and somehow that eventually morphed into it being Markale Lundy.
They said it was 2 white guys first, or something like that. I said, dude, what you want me for? And he said, because now they saying it's me. He explains it down, break it down to me, and says, somebody's accusing me of aggravated robbery. I said, well, that's wrong. You got the wrong guy. I wouldn't do that. He said, well, give me your phone. I'm going to run your phone. Next thing you know, he's telling me, well, I got to arrest you.
There was an abundance of evidence showing that Markale's cell phone had been used somewhere else that wasn't at the crime scene.
We know that the victim called 911 at 4:25. If you look at Mr. Lundy's cell phone records, from 3:51 through 5:51, his phone is shown to be 4.5 miles away from the scene of the crime.
I thought it probably would have been more convincing to the jury to bring someone in to testify about that, which they chose not to do.
It would be very clear to a jury, if they're looking at a map of where the crime scene is and where his phone is, that he could not have been there at that time, period.
He said, well, you mind giving up a DNA sample? Hey, yeah, anything you need, I'm going to cooperate, yes.
The Columbus Police Crime Laboratory found that Markale Lundy could not be excluded from the curling iron courts. The report is weak evidence that Mr. Lundy is a possible candidate, but it's not at all conclusive.
The results were that Markel Lundy could not be excluded as a contributor to the DNA, which then the prosecutor used to argue at the trial, oh, well, he's not excluded, essentially suggesting he must be included, which is not the same thing, but that was the argument that seemed to be put forth. In closing argument, the prosecutor said the two minor contributors were Satisha Hayes and the defendant, Markel Lundy, which of course suggests that Markel Lundy his DNA was definitely on this evidence from the scene, but that's not at all what we know that the DNA results said.
So in August 2014, I reported on this error at the Columbus Police Crime Lab related to DNA testing. Franklin County Prosecutor Ron O'Brien, his office starts sending out letters to folks, letting them know about the mistake and including a supplemental report.
Their new report says, due to the limited data obtained, no interpretations will be made for the minor component of this DNA profile, meaning there's no longer a connection to Mr. Lundy's DNA being present at the scene.
Two white men did this.
Which one me
No
for?
long
This error related to DNA testing.
You're not gonna see Dogface going back to prison.
Could not have been there at that time.
Morphed into Markel Lundy.
You don't know how hard it is to wake up and you're innocent. But it's even harder to go to sleep at night. It is. It's hard.
I'll start worrying about him. I'll come, ask Daddy, be like, y'all heard from Markel? Did he call y'all? And my dad would be like, check on him, call up there, see. You know what I'm saying? Do we got to get a rental car to go up there and see? Daddy's sick, so it's kind of harder now.
My name is Michael Miller. Everybody call me Pop. I got stage 4 cancer through my whole body. The doctor left me yesterday. They said I might not, be around much longer. I don't mind dying. Dying ain't no problem. The problem is I would like to see him out with me before I do pass away, I ain't just saying it because, it was mine, but what can I say? He was a good person, That's my son. He always laughing and joking and stuff.
A smart woman told me that God give his strongest wars to his strongest soldiers. So, you know what? We're doing some push-ups in here, man.
I miss him, though.
Hurry up and come home. They need to let you go. And call before they let you out. If you know you can get out in a week, call as soon as you know so we can get the rental car ready and be there to pick you up so you ain't got to stay another day in Ohio. You can come back to Richmond.
I hope he do get out, hurry up and get out. I can just shake his hand, give him a hug, tell him I love him,
Truly amazing. I know we have a lot of former students in the room, but I hope they take no offense when I say these are the best documentaries we've ever seen. Truly extraordinary. Guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Does anyone still believe in that concept, that term? It's an outrage that they're still in prison, and we hope that they'll be free. And I just want to again highlight the family members, the loved ones who are here with us, and those who've been through it before. We have a deep problem in this country in our criminal legal process, in our appeals process, which is a complete joke. And the only thing that gives me hope and a positive mindset is these students who are working tirelessly, who are sacrificing so much of their semester for this much greater cause. They've worked day and night on the cases, on the documentaries, and it's all come together so beautifully. And I have no doubt that some of them will be free, perhaps very soon, and hopefully all of them will get to celebrate here like John is tonight. We have a tradition in our class, which is that we stop everything when we get live calls from prison. And we have some of our program participants who are actually on the phone right now. Is anyone actually there? I saw some people taking calls. We have Scott Jones with us, and he's going to say a few words.
All right, Scott, I'm putting you up to the microphone. You have hundreds of people here who just heard your story. What would you like to share with them?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. I would like to start out by saying thank you for your time and listening to my story. My story is an unbelievable story from 14 years ago. I was asked what would give me hope again. Well, working with the making of Exoneree is the greatest thing of all my 14 years in prison. It's like a dream come true, the secret voice for the world to hear. On January 11, 2026, Miss Aaron reached out to me by text to reintroduce King Jones, made of herself, Robin, Totten, and Miss Julie. And the next thing I knew, I had three amazing people in my prison wanting to talk. So instead of crying, I had to make fun of Totten and Miss Kenny Jean. But for real, I could tell they was ready to go, and I had help with my hopes, my faith, my excitement, my levels went through the roof. We started talking more and more, and I could hear the concern and the willing to help in your voice. It touched my heart, opened my eyes, and gave me life, trust, and freedom again. I will never be able to pay. I will never be able to pay the team back. Aaron, Robin, Totten, you are the best hope and dream that any making had. And to what y'all do is amazing. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Mom, I would like to say to you, thank you always for being there for me and for being in the room tonight. Mom, you're my world, my heart, my soul, and still it keeps me going. And here, and all my love, and Mom, remember, stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. There's a lot of love for you in this room right now.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Do we have any others? Or do we have a pre-recorded message? Oh, it's live. Okay. You can put that up. They can hear this. This is what we deal with all the time.
Thank you, Tyler.
An inmate at Central Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded. For customer assistance, collection, or complaint procedures, or to block future calls, dial 1-866-230-7761. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello?
Hi, Sabor. Okay, I'm going to put you up to the speakerphone if you're ready to talk to everyone.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening to everyone. I just want to thank everybody for their time and listening. I just want to give a special thanks to the Making of Exoneree, and tell you a little bit about what it means to me. In short, it actually means everything. It has really gave me a newfound hope, I would say. It's a very desolate place. It's very hard here, but this making of Exoneree has really done a lot for my mental health. It has gave me a reason to have a little bit more faith in like people, because I see that people do care. And I want to give a special thanks to Lindsay, Jana, Lucy, William, Victor, Matt, Jamie, Darlene, Mark Howard, and the professor. I really appreciate you, all of you, for believing in me. Mark Katz, Nick Neutron, Miss Marie Braxton, Darlene, Nick Neutrons.
This call is from the North Carolina Correctional Facility.
I'm really moved and very appreciative to all that this course have allowed me to see and to understand maybe more about myself, because I got a chance to a lot of things that I have held within out of me. But when there is no one to tell it to because nobody believes you, then all you can do is like keep it inside. But I want to thank everybody that was a part of this, even people that I haven't mentioned. You are not forgotten. And I just want to say thank you to all involved. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Sabra.
Markel, you're here with the whole crowd that's here to see the MAU showcase.
Hi, everybody.
Do you have anything that you want to say to everyone who's here?
Yes, let me just cut this TV off because I was watching 90 Day Fiancé. So let me just cut this off real quick. Hold on. Okay. So, yes, I would like to say something from the heart. And can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
Okay. First, I want to thank everyone who took the time to be here today. It truly means more than I can fully put into words. My name is Markel Lundy, and I'm speaking to you from a place where time moves real slow. But hope has to move fast if you want to survive in here. There were days I felt like my voice didn't matter. Like no matter how loud I spoke, nobody could hear me. Doors to justice didn't just close, they stayed closed. And after a while, you start to wonder if anybody is ever coming. But then, you all came. The Making the Exoneree project didn't just tell my story. You stepped into it. You didn't treat me like a case file or an assignment. You treated me like a human being, like family. And I want to say this clearly to Mr. Williams, Reese, Rudy, and Connor. Team Lundy, thank you for taking the time to understand my case, to see what others overlooked, and to stand in truth, even when it's not easy. That kind of integrity matters more than you know. You didn't just put a documentary together for a grade. You put gloves on, stepped into the ring with me, and helped me fight back against injustice. That means everything to me. You became my May family, and I love you all for that. And to my mama bear, there's not enough words. If it wasn't for my mama bear, none of this would have happened. You believed in me. You kept beating that drum for justice even when it was just easier for you to walk away. You're more than an advocate. You're my lighthouse. Thank you for contacting the May family. Thank you for always listening to me. Every time I complain like an old grumpy man, I know they got on your nerves. Thank you for your patience. And to everyone listening tonight, this isn't just my story. There are many innocent people sitting in places like this, waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard, waiting for someone to care enough to look deeper. So I plead with you, don't let this be the end of it. This ain't where it stops. Take what you see here today and do something with it. Speak up against injustice, because justice doesn't move on its own. You move it. And before I go, I want you all to know I'm still standing, I'm still fighting. And with people like you in my corner, I'm not fighting alone anymore. Thank you. I love you all, and keep beating the drum for justice.
Thank you, Markel. Can you hear everyone clapping for you?
We love you, Markel. We got you. Free dog thing.
Free dog thing.
You put up a family members from that? Like we did. Remember Donald Hopkins' daughter?
I don't want to make them speak. Everything. Do we have any others? We have a pre-recorded, just in case. When you're in prison, you can't always pick when you're going to call.
Anthony's in head count right now, but he pre-recorded something just in case.
Well, what I'm trying to say about this case as a whole is that these young ladies and men, they have helped me. They has poured their little hearts out to the best of their knowledge and power to help me, and I'm so appreciative of them. And that it's just a process, you know. I know, nothing happened overnight, but I'm like I say, I'm real thankful for them, you know, because it's just an uphill battle. But I would like anyone and everyone to just look at the lies. It's just multiple lies, and I'm in prison for I've been in prison for 33 years for these lies, and it's clear to me. So I know I ain't the only one with a brain. So I mean, if anyone with a brain or with any type of comprehension, they can see that I'm in prison wrongly convicted. I did not commit this crime. The evidence clearly shows that, and most importantly, that the perjured testimony, which is a violation of my constitutional right, to stand trial on perjured testimony. There's just so many lies that has been told by the state's leading witnesses, and that the expert testimony was directly in conflict with what they testified to. You know, you will see just all the bad things that they did to me, and I don't understand it, you know, and it's just been a hell of an experience being in prison for 33 years, you know. In September will be 34 years, you know, and I just ain't really had no help, and I need help. You know, I want to go home to my family, to my loved ones, but most importantly, I'm thankful for this program at University of Georgetown, and I'm thankful for the student that has helped me, and they have tried to help me, and they continue to help me, and I'm just grateful for that. Thank you.
And last but not least, Jeremy Phillips. Is this pre-recorded?
Yes. Unfortunately, he did call, but he also had to head count. But hold on, sorry.
Just being part of this program, I guess what it means to me is, I'd say it's my saving grace. You know, the goals that I've desired for nearly 2 decades were completed by you in less than 90 days. So it's almost not explainable how amazing, how mind-blowing, how grateful I am for this opportunity. Working with you students has been the best part and the most impactful portion of the entire process for me. I guess after living in a cage for like 19 and a half years, you kind of get used to being treated like you're nothing more than a number in a warehouse. And, you know, then all of a sudden, I have 3 brilliant students show up and start encouraging me, investing in me, fighting for me. It's been almost more than I can comprehend, more than I can wrap my mind around. You know, a lot of days I say, wow, this is too good to be happening to me. All 3 of y'all, Angelique, Alan, and Ben, you know, I'm eternally in debt to you. Very grateful for you. You not only function together as a single unit, we're on a mission, but, you know, you've repeatedly made intentional efforts to remind me of my intrinsic value. You know, I'm wholeheartedly appreciative to you, the Dream Team, to Miss Joy, Abby, Ava, Amelia, Mark and Marty, everybody fighting to make a difference in the lives of others. I'm sure there's dozens of people behind the scenes that, I'll never meet or never know about, but, I'm eternally grateful for you. Working with you has almost been like an extension of, adopting a new family, having a new circle that's caring, and that's probably been the most impactful portion of the entire process. And I just want you to know I'm sincerely thankful for you.
Now we're going to have all the students come up for a Q&A, but you can feel free to give them all a round of applause for the amazing work they've done. Yeah, the law students as well. William, feel free.
William.
We have some microphones on both aisles here. Now's a chance to ask the students some questions. Don't be shy. We have 2 microphones, 1 in each aisle.
Don't make us cold call you.
And feel free to line up behind people. Well, there's a microphone. Can you? Do you want to bring? Go ahead.
Thank you all so much for your documentaries. They were incredibly moving, and thank you all for the service of communicating these stories. My question to you is, how can we change the laws around appeals, around convictions, around trials, to make sure that this kind of thing stops happening and to reverse the cases where it's already happened?
Who wants to take that?
Well,
be brief, though.
Hi, everyone. That's a great question. I think it starts with coalition building. It starts on a practical level of writing to your elected representatives. It starts by engaging in conversation, building community surrounding criminal justice reform, and then it gets taken to the courtroom. And for people who want to go into the legal field and for people who are becoming lawyers, it's on us to fight harder than we've ever fought for anything before, because if it wasn't for lawyers, like for people like our program participants, for people who were the lawyers for someone like Gideon, someone like Batson, someone like all of these people who took injustice, took steps towards fighting that, and now it's become embedded in our jurisprudence, is how we can effectuate change throughout our society at large. But it comes from our heart, and it comes from building community.
Thank you.
I don't have so much of a question, just 2 statements. I guess the first is thank you for all the work that you are doing. It is incredibly important. It is, one of the most important sort of like systemic things that, is going on. The second point I want to just say is that there are a lot of sort of former football players who have actually taken the time to go through K through 12, go through college, and I think we now know there's a lot of evidence to link, football to a lot of neurodegenerative diseases, and they are now looking for assistance. There are athletes who are now filing their cases on their own, but just so you're aware, I just want to say the work doesn't stop, so thank you for what you are doing, but after that, there are a lot of football players who are looking for assistance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to thank everyone here. I have a lot of takeaways that I'll carry with me after graduating very shortly and soon. I really appreciate all the work you guys have done. My question, really briefly, anyone is able to answer if they want, is regarding how those of us who maybe have a family member or a family friend that is currently wrongly convicted, what first steps do you think maybe they should take, just 1 or 2 steps? Or that maybe been a loaded question, I don't know.
Hi. I think that for a lot of people who are incarcerated, period, and especially wrongfully incarcerated, there is immense loneliness. And I think that a lot of our program participants today have really strong family and really strong advocates, and some of them don't. And so I think the very first step is maintaining closeness as much as possible.
As somebody who had a family member who was recently released from prison, Jimmy, if you're watching this, hey, I think one of the biggest things is believing in them as a person and letting them know that. These are people that society have deemed to be the lowest of the low. They don't believe in their innocence, they don't believe in their goodness as people, they don't believe that they're human. And so to be the person that says, I see you, I see your humanity, and I believe in you, that's just a very powerful way of showing them that regardless of what the system tells them, at the end of the day, they are still one of us.
Thank you, Reese.
And as somebody who was wrongfully imprisoned, you write to everybody and anybody.
This guy wrote 50,000 letters from prison over almost 18 years. That's 9 a day, including weekends.
And making Exoneree wasn't in existence, but I wrote to retired judges, former prosecutors, retired, I mean, anybody you can think of. Heidi Klum. Didn't matter.
We actually have a question from the front row with the microphone.
Yes.
Could you stand for a second?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Yes, it is on. Okay. I want to say that I think all of you are just wonderful, and thank you very, very much for what you do. It's so great and valuable. And it's probably already been asked, but if someone is incarcerated, wrongfully incarcerated, how do they make themselves known to you all, number one, and number two, how do you all go about choosing which case that you'll take?
I think I'll take that one briefly. And actually, Erin, you're even better suited because Erin actually works for the organization in addition to being a student in this class. And one of her roles is intake of all the mail we get. So go ahead.
Yes. We get hundreds of letters, people begging for us to listen to them, to take their cases. Each one touches us incredibly. We have a form that incarcerated people can fill out. We also have an online form that their family members can fill out on behalf of them, and then we'll send them that physical intake form. And in terms of their case, I would say, there's so many amazing cases that we have to turn down each year, and it's, it's really based on so many factors, especially, what we can put into 8 minutes, and weighing, all the factors of wrongful conviction and what that investigation looks like for students in a 4-month period. Each of our cases had so much to reinvestigate. There's definitely so much more that we could all keep doing. But unfortunately, we only have the semester. So it kind of comes down to, what we're able to get done in those 4 months.
I just want to add to Erin's great response that we have an incredible team that she's a part of. I want to highlight Joy Evans, Amelia Cipriano. It's heartbreaking how many letters we get from people in prison. And in the past, in 2018, the first several years, we would take 5 cases. That means so many others that we would have to turn down or say, can you wait another year? We'll eventually be able to look at you. And then as we grew, and Princeton takes 4 cases a year, so we had 9 a year. Now we're up to 22 a year, but think about how many more we could take if we could continue to grow this program. There are so many desperate cries for help, and we do everything we can, but we want to help more. Over here, yes.
He was waiting way before me.
Oh, okay. I was trying to balance out the side. The side's been pretty shy over here, but.
We can go for that side.
Okay.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for everything you do. It was not only incredibly impressive, but also very, very touching and very, very moving. My question is more so for the students. I'm just wondering what has been the most meaningful part of this whole experience for you guys.
Great. Go ahead, Mike.
I think for me and my group at least, it has definitely been the relationship we've managed to build with Sabur. We were lucky in that we got to visit him in person 3 times, which a lot of people don't just because they have to fly or whatever. And by the end, he just he sat down and told us so much about ourselves that we couldn't even pick up on. He's very like perceptive, and I think each of us now are sort of viewing him as a real friend, someone who we have gotten to know. And it makes it all the more awful that he's locked away. But it is like meeting someone like wonderful for the first time, and I think all of us have had that experience. So.
Connor?
I'd say the exact same thing for us. All three of us talk to Markel every week, and I think week over week our relationship with him has developed a lot, and it's become like genuinely a highlight of my week. It's something I'll continue after the program as well. So that's definitely been number one for me.
I just also like to echo that as well. We talk to Jeremy a lot over text, and pretty much every time, I wanted to include this in the introduction, but pretty much every time we talk to him, he tells us to smile on purpose or have a good day on purpose, and it's been really great to know him as a person and have that person in our lives.
First of all, thank you everybody for the amazing work you're doing. All of the folks you are helping, they were to a large degree just like you. They were just living their lives. They were at work. They were at school. This is a bit of a painful question, but I guess I'm wondering if any of you have done any reflecting and any sort of considering what it would be like for you if you were wrongfully convicted out of nowhere, out of thin air. It just dropped in your world, no different than it dropped for them, who you would reach out to, how you would survive, what you would do to get through. I'm sorry to ask that question, but I'm also curious if that was ever a discussion.
Yeah, I think what I'd say to that is, at least for Jeremy, like, I know who I would reach out to because I'm here at Georgetown University, and I know this program exists even if I wasn't a part of it. And I feel like there's so many people I could reach out to. I think for a lot of the program participants, they don't really have that network of people, at least legal experts, people who can give all their time to their case and things like that. So I don't know if that's a real answer because, I think everyone up here has reflected on it at least a bit throughout this process, but I think the main thing is that a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to reach out to a lot of people and get that help. So.
Yeah, another thing that I would add is absolutely none of us are immune to this. If it's not you know somebody, and it's truly pervasive. But the other thing is that a lot of us have traveled to communities where this is the status quo, that people who are under-resourced or grew up in poverty, which was the case for a lot of our program participants, the idea was that if it wasn't this, it was something else that they did, or that they, the people that they hung out with, it was something about them, or you can look anywhere for a reason. And these are people oftentimes that they don't have the platform that we have, and they're asking for somebody to listen to them, and that is because they just, by accident of birth, were born into different circumstances than we were. And I think that that's also a part of what was so impactful about this experience, was that we got to learn about a completely different set of circumstances, a completely different, small town way of life, for example, that I'm not accustomed to. And I know Anthony, our program participant, had told me that there was a group of himself and a few other individuals that were pulled over by the police a few years before he was arrested for this, and they told them, "We're gonna get you for something. Like, you're flashy, you stand out. We're gonna put something on you." And that is what makes him and a lot of other people different from all of us that are standing up here today. And it is our duty to do something, because it's not more just that it happens to one person versus another person. It's just it's all of our collective responsibility to do something about that.
Hi, just to echo everything that's already been said, incredible work. All of these documentaries were so powerful and impactful. I had a question, it might have been partially answered already, but it's obviously a very emotionally loaded task to take on something like this. And for the undergraduate students especially, I would love to know more about your personal journey, what took taking that passion and turning it into, legal advocacy like this. I'd love to hear more.
I'd say for me, I think I kind of reflect on the importance of keeping a level head through this process. It can definitely get emotional. It was made a lot easier for us because Markel is like a very funny person. So there's a lot of like comedy involved, but it's also just like a really kind of like daunting, grueling process to have to go through a bunch of appeals for a person you know is innocent, despite the fact the state's not willing to listen to that case. So keeping a level head, I think, is number one for me.
I think something that really helped me, knowing that Sabor is on death row and North Carolina's new law makes an execution date somewhat inevitable if things do not happen in time, is having some level of acceptance that I'm using my privilege to help him and to see him, and reminding myself every day that that is the most that any of us can do. And we have to keep all of our program participants in mind all of the time and be able to go to sleep every day and feel good about the fact that you know them and you're there for them. And that's, more than most of them have ever had.
The angrier you get, the harder you work.
Well, I would also just add that I've really tried to take a page out of Scott's book himself, and in his situation, despite being incarcerated in one of the states with the most stringent legal systems, being a facility that is one of the worst in the country, he's able to find so much light, and I think if he can, then we can too. And again, that's been furthered by meeting his wonderful mother, who's always had a smile and was so welcoming to us. And as Aaron touched on, Scott is an artist and a poet, and he's able to channel his pain and what he goes through into such light. So I think we've all tried to emulate that.
Thank you. You guys are great.
Well, I also just want to thank Neha, who asked that question, because she's an intern with us at MAE and helps us, along with Jessica Aletta. I don't see Jessica, but Jessica, there she is, part of our team. So thank you both. We have such an amazing team of people who aren't always up front, but who are working tirelessly on this program. Yes, over here.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. The documentaries were really moving. My question is, what happens to the wrongly accused inmates once your semester is over?
That's a really important question. I think for all of us, we've been touched by the person, by their story, by the injustice that's been done to them, and we're going to keep fighting. I know in Scott's case, he is up for parole in 2 years, so that's something that each three of us and our law student are, fighting for that parole hearing and for eventually for Scott to walk out of prison one day. But I think, it all goes to say that the documentary is really just the first step of a larger fight for freedom for each one of these 5 people.
Also, like Aaron said, we are fighting for our program participants long after this class. I know our case specifically, we just got a new 200 files that we previously didn't have, so we have to look through all of that now. And so there's definitely aspects of the case that we haven't been able to touch on just because we haven't had the time, and then also splitting our time between reinvestigating and then doing the documentary. But yeah, it's lifelong work until they're out of prison.
Yeah, I think John Kinsel's team, who we're so honored to be in their presence today, they joined us today. They're a testament to what Aaron was just talking about. The work doesn't end after the semester, after the documentary. That's actually a question that Scott asked me when we first started. He said, so what happens in 3 months? And the more you get into these cases, 8 minutes tells you a whole lot. But if you study this for 3 months, it's just baffling. And there's no way to step away from his case and just leave him. So that's all to say that I intend to, and I know my entire team intends to keep working with Scott after the semester's over. And this was just the first push to get some momentum for Scott's case.
Thank you.
I'll just add, we don't require it. The semester's over. The grades are in. Probably not much suspense in this room about their grades, right? But many, I'd say most of them choose to continue. I mean, we have former students who are in the room who are still in touch with their program participants all the time. Undergrad students, they graduate, they move on, they come back, they go to the prison release, they stay involved. We've got Nick White and Amanda Lewis who are still involved in the Kevin Herrick case and other multiple cases. We don't let go until someone's home, and then we stay with them. There's incredible love. It's not about duty. It's not about grades. It's not about assignments. It's about fighting for someone's freedom. And nothing's bigger than that.
Thank you.
Yeah, first I just want to say the work all of you guys are doing is just so important, and the documentaries were incredible, very powerful, and very moving. So thank you. The question I have is, in many of these cases, you've all illuminated some real examples of miscarriages of justice, perhaps by police and detectives involved in the cases, maybe by prosecuting attorneys, by the judges, by the juries involved. And so in this world, in each of these cases, would you say that the end goal is, bringing these innocent people back home, or does it continue on to possibly holding these, institutions and these individuals who have affected so many lives accountable?
I think that it's very much a twofold solution. The primary goal of this opportunity is obviously to get our participant free, but there, as Mark mentioned earlier, there are 5 to 10% of people who are wrongfully incarcerated currently. That's over 100,000 people that are currently sitting in a cell for a crime that they didn't commit. And so this battle goes beyond us. It goes beyond the 5 stories that you heard today. It goes really to the heart of our criminal justice system, and it goes to the fact that we are all part of this democracy. We are all people who have the power to change that one step at a time. And so I think it's both a matter of, getting all of these people free, as well as changing the system that put them in this horrendous situation in the first place.
I'll also just add, it's very, very hard to hold a prosecutor or a police officer legally accountable after this happens. So I believe prosecutors have absolute immunity.
Absolute immunity.
So they could steal evidence, set your house on, whatever, as part of the case, and they are immune from prosecution. Police have qualified immunity. So there's all these standards that make it really hard to take that extra step. I think all of us would want to take that step, but until we have some major change to our system, it's not going to happen, probably.
William is right. Absolute immunity, prosecutorial immunity, qualified immunity. But by doing these documentaries and getting out there and spreading the word, we're educating people. And if people start understanding the problems with the system, that's when we're going to start making changes.
We're going to jump. We have a few questions online from our audience. Ava's going to read them out. Ava, our amazing TA for the class.
We have a question from a very special person watching online, Rodney Derrickson.
Rodney was our
former
11th release, I believe, from prison in 2024. Yes, Rodney.
Yeah, and he spoke to our class, notably, this semester. So he asks to each of the students, how does this work inspire you to continue this work after graduating?
They can all answer that one, I know. Just who's going to do it?
How many of you are going to work at law firms partially because of this work? Have any of you asked to be part of their pro bono programs that do wrongful conviction work?
Does anyone want to take a quick answer? Okay, over here, Rhea.
I wanted to say something because I actually haven't done a lot of wrongful conviction work before joining this class, as opposed to some of my peers here who've spent their last 4 years doing that work here. So for me, it was more of a theoretical interest that I took Mark's class, and now I'm actually involved in this kind of work. So having had this experience and taking everything that I've had from it, whether it be the relationship that we've built with Anthony, actually doing the case research with the hundreds of pages of legal research that we have to do, it's inspiring because of how baffling the situation is. So sometimes you just have to dive into the work to be able to understand how much you actually feel about it. And for me, just like Marty was saying, I will be working at a law firm, and I've asked about their pro bono work in this field, and I'm excited to work on that.
Do we have another question? No? That's the same thing? Okay.
Can I add one thing to
We're
that?
going to go, our last two, because we're way, oh, I'm
Can
sorry.
I add one
Go
thing?
ahead.
Sorry.
Of course, Katie,
I was just going to say as well that something, I mean, I do plan to go to law school and I'm going to stay involved with this work, so as a caveat. But something else that's really inspired me about this semester is that yes, lawyers are so important, and they are ultimately the people who can make a lot of change and get into the nitty-gritty technical aspects of this. It has been sort of our greatest advantage and also greatest disadvantage that we are not lawyers while we've looked into these cases. And that means sometimes that you have to wait a year to get documents that a lawyer could get right away if they filed a subpoena, and it would be much easier on sort of that technical front. But it is also one of our greatest advantages that we are looking at these cases in an entirely different way than somebody has been trained to, that is doing it for their career, that's been doing it for years. That's something that they might not think is legally salient, but we don't know that, so we're looking into it anyway. It might lead to something that actually is really powerful in the case. So sort of out of the box, like creative thinking, looking at things with an eye that maybe somebody else doesn't have also has a lot of power, and that's something that anybody in this crowd, anybody that's just a human being that cares about other people can look into, and everything makes a difference.
I'd also just like to add that you don't need to be a lawyer to be doing this type of work. You could be a videographer, and you can make just as much of an impact doing video editing so that we can then show these stories to people. You could be on Canva making graphics that then get sent out to thousands and thousands of people, which is work that is just as impactful as what the lawyers are doing. So whatever your expertise is, whatever you're good at, whatever your major is, you can still affect situations like this without being a lawyer, without working at a law firm, without going to law school, so you can also get involved.
It's a great answer, and I think there's even more, frankly, that these students can do and that these documentaries can create in terms of pressure, of breaking through a system. There are some major organizations that do great work, but they do it with $40 million a year that they raise, and they got 2 exonerations last year. We're working with less than 1/100th of that budget, scrounging to put a little team together, and we're getting just as many, if not more, people out of prison. And so I just want to highlight that this strategy, these are stealth agents. They're extraordinary, they're fearless, they're tireless, they're inspired, and they're inspiring. Over here, Cottrell.
Oh, I'm
Or is it
sorry.
over, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
over
I think
here.
he was first.
Yeah.
You can go if you want, man.
No, go ahead.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
All right. I have a couple questions. First off, thank you all so much. It's really, really inspiring to see all the work that you've put in and to hear not just the legal and procedural and factual issues that you've carefully and meticulously identified, but also the humanity and the second victim aspect, which is so important. And thank you to all the families who are here and who have helped spread your loved ones' stories as well. Thank you. The first question, and this was hinted at or was talked about previously with regards to the absolute immunity of prosecutors and qualified immunity of police officers and peace officers. To what extent, in the course of your investigations or in the history of this specific program, did you encounter Brady violations? Did you encounter a situation in which a prosecutor did not reveal or did not disclose exculpatory evidence that would have demonstrated reasonable doubt as to the defendant's innocence or guilt? Wow.
I think I can answer that every single year, multiple times a year, in all the cases we've worked on.
Wow. Yeah, and it's shocking and it's not surprising. I wish I was in your cohort. I wish I could do this. I'm graduating soon, but I did want to do a shout out to for Mark Howard's Prisons and Punishment class, the lecture, which I was fortunate enough to take last semester. There's more than 20 seats. There's plenty of space. So if you're a current undergrad, I would highly recommend you taking that. And you also said in that class we talked about the American adversarial system versus like a comparative inquisitorial system, which is when you look into it. And one of the assignments of the class was going to the D.C. Superior Court, and I watched a whole bunch of arraignments where attorneys, public defenders, were meeting their clients, those defendants before the judge to basically plead their case and hear the charges against them for the first time. They were meeting them in that courtroom. There is a huge imbalance of power. In your guys' opinion, what is the solution to this problem where prosecutors, district attorneys, you know, the way that they go up in the ranks is by merit, you know, by how many wins, how many convictions can you get, plea deals, all that stuff. With all of that, what solutions? Are there any panaceas? What is there for the common person? Because any one of us, as we saw today, could very easily be wrongfully convicted of something that we did not do. So how do we tackle that?
Dylan, I'm going to have to cut you off, but you
Yeah,
have to
sorry.
take my class all over
Sorry,
again.
I know, I'm sorry. I did graduate from Yappington, in addition to hopefully Georgetown pretty soon.
We are really way over time. Does anyone want to give a brief
I was just going to
response?
say,
Erin? Go ahead.
good defense attorneys is what we need. Short answer.
And more of them.
And an equal amount of resources for public defenders and defense lawyers compared to the government. If you ever balanced out how much the money it goes allotted, it's shocking.
Just quick, just a charge and challenge to everyone in here, but I knew you all did a great job. And I just wanted to ask the one question. In your own close family, you know, what was the conversations? Or are you having, or were you having conversations? And this was a great film. I mean, it touched me. I'm glad the lights were down, because a few moments I just couldn't control the tears, but it was great. But, you know, we can do more. And one of the more is our families, right? That you know, because maybe your family maybe necessarily on the same type of footing as, you know, fighting for justice or innocence. So I think that the bigger part of all of us we can do is talk directly to our family members and then expand that family and have conversations that are real like this. But thank you again for your work. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cottrell. I know many family members are here with us in the audience, too. Does anyone want to say anything about those conversations?
I feel like it also just kind of stems from how the class like fundamentally changed the way I saw the criminal justice system. Like I think we all know that like the criminal justice system is like kind of messed up, but there's a very big difference between just knowing that conceptually and seeing like real everyday cases of people's lives being completely derailed by an incompetent defense attorney or a super aggressive, erroneous prosecutor. So I think those realizations have fueled a bunch of conversations, not just with family, but also with friends.
So I want to say three things to wrap it up, because we're way over time. I appreciate everyone staying this long. First is I want to recognize Kenneth Bond, who's the 5th person to be released through our program. Stand up. Yeah. That was the first year of our program, 2018. It took a few years, but Kenneth came home February 2023. Beautiful moment. And Kenneth is doing incredible things, working multiple jobs, has his own place, his own car, living life to its fullest. And he drove in from Baltimore to be here tonight, fought traffic. We appreciate and love you, Kenneth. Second, I want to just say to these students, you are extraordinary. What you have done this semester, and I know there's some parents here, I hope you are unbelievably proud of your, I can't say children. I mean, they've grown up in front of our eyes. What they have done this semester, I mean, some of them aren't even of legal drinking age, right? But they are pioneers. They are heroes. They fight for justice. They've sacrificed so much, so many of the fun things in college life that they've decided to take another road. They've decided to take 5-hour drives, round trip, multiple times, to take flights, to go places, to go experience things that were so far out of their comfort zone. And what they put together in this documentary, and they had Sully and others who were supporting from the team, but really they put so much heart into it. They put everything on the line because they realized the stakes, helping a wrongfully convicted person get out of prison. And they would not stop short of giving it their all. And it's incredible, and I'm so proud of you. I know you are too, Marty.
I am very proud, and because I know that, you know, I was in prison for 18 years, and if making Exoneree was in existence, probably would have taken 18 years. But to know that there are students like that are going out into the field, people who are going on to law school, And, to know that like somebody like Justin goes on to law school and says, as an undergrad, I worked on a man who was wrongfully convicted, and at Harvard, people are still questioning it. And I think we're at a point now in society we should not question how messed up the system is and how much more we can do. And thank you to every one of you for making a difference and going on and making this world a better place.
And in conclusion, I have to point out the last slide on there, which has a QR code. All of the work that we do, especially expanding the program to other universities around the country, which we hope to continue to do, to have more documentaries, more people we can help, more people released from prison. All of that comes through philanthropy. And so if it's within your means, any size gift helps. We're trying to grow this program, build it, spread it, and help more people get the fuck out of prison. Thank you all for coming. Can't see it. Stay up for pictures.